courtroom was silent, thick with tension, every eye fixed on Karoline Leavitt. This wasn't just another trial. It had become a spectacle, a national obsession. And at the center of it all was Karoline, former congressional candidate, rising, political star, and now, unexpectedly, a key witness in a high-profile government ethics case. But no one was prepared for what would happen next. Not the jury, not the press, not even the judge. She sat straight, composed, flanked by attorneys, her expression unreadable. And by her side, in a rare exception granted by the court, sat a golden retriever named Patriot, her longtime service dog. Officially, he was present for medical reasons. Unofficially, some claimed it was for optics. But then it happened. As the opposing counsel launched into a blistering line of questioning, attempting to cast doubt on her character and motives, Karoline shifted slightly in her seat. Her left hand, resting just beneath the edge of the table, made a subtle motion. Two fingers tapping once, then again in a slight curve. To most, it meant nothing, but to those watching closely, especially one very attentive golden retriever, it meant everything. Patriot sat up, stared straight at the prosecutor, and let out a low, deliberate growl. The courtroom froze. A hushed gasp rippled through the gallery. The judge blinked. "Ms. Leavitt," he said sharply, "did you just signal your dog to growl?" Karoline turned, composed. "Your Honor, he's trained to react to stress, mine and others. He's not dangerous. He's alert." But the judge wasn't buying it. He leaned forward, skeptical. "Are you telling this court that your dog responded on his own?" Before she could reply, Patriot did something astonishing. He stood, walked to the center of the courtroom, sat, and stared straight at the judge. No barking, no pacing, just presence. There was something unnervingly intelligent in his gaze, something almost human. A murmur spread among the jurors. Reporters' fingers flew across keyboards, and the judge, known for his no-nonsense reputation, did something. No one expected. He called for a recess, not to discipline Leavitt, not to lecture her, but to gather himself, because he too had seen what everyone else had seen, that the growl wasn't aggression, it was precision, timed, intentional. And the signal? Deliberate. The question now wasn't whether Patriot had been trained to intimidate. The question was why Karoline had used the signal at that exact moment. Back in chambers, speculation ran wild. Some whispered that it was a psychological tactic, an assertion of dominance when the courtroom had tilted against her. Others believed the signal was a silent protest, a way of reminding the jury that appearances can be deceiving. One legal analyst said on national television that it was one of the most brilliantly subtle power moves ever executed by a defendant's witness. But behind the headlines was something deeper, because when the court reconvened, Karoline spoke, not to justify the signal but to explain the bond. She said, "He's more than a service dog. He was trained after surviving trauma, just like I was. He knows when I'm being cornered. He knows when words are being used not to uncover truth, but to break someone down. Today he let you know that." The courtroom listened, really listened, and something shifted. The tone of the trial changed. The prosecutor's tone softened. The judge no longer saw Patriot as a prop. The jury stopped seeing Karoline as just a political figure. She became something more relatable. Someone defending not just a position, but a piece of her truth. When the trial concluded days later, with Karoline's testimony helping to secure a pivotal ruling in favor of government transparency, all anyone could talk about was the dog. The T signal, and the judge's stunned reaction. Clips of the moment went viral. Patriot was trending on every platform. Dog behaviorists analyzed his posture frame by frame. Political commentators debated whether the signal had crossed an ethical line. But Karoline, she stayed quiet. Until 1 week later, when she posted a single photo, Patriot, sitting next to her, a caption that read, "He didn't speak, but he said what needed to be said, and that was all. No interviews. No explanations. Just a reminder that in a world of shouting matches and spinning narratives, sometimes it takes silence and a well-timed signal to shake the room. And maybe, just maybe, to tell the truth." Judges are trained not to show emotion. Juries are instructed to ignore theatrics, and attorneys, especially federal ones, are used to controlling the room. But somehow, a subtle signal and a silent dog had upended the rules, not with noise, but with a quiet, calculated pause. In the IT days that followed, headlines spread far beyond legal circles. The signal heard around the courtroom, one read. Others were more sensational. Leavitt's legal mind games, Patriot the truth dog, and the now iconic, "Who's really on trial here?" But what the public didn't see was what happened that evening. Judge Morrison, veteran of the bench, decorated legal scholar, and a man once described as impervious to emotional manipulation, requested a private meeting. Off record, no transcripts, just a quiet room, Karoline Leavitt and Patriot, no lawyers, no press. What was said in that room remains private, but one court officer, speaking anonymously, described the judge's face when he emerged. It wasn't just changed, it was softened. The next morning, the judge made an unexpected move. He entered a statement into the record. Not a legal ruling, but a personal reflection, he said. "This courtroom is meant for truth, not only the truth of facts and evidence, but the deeper truth of human experience. What I witnessed yesterday was not a disruption. It was a reminder that we bring ourselves, our history, our pain, our instincts, into every room we enter, even this one. Ms. Leavitt, your signal was not a violation of order. It was a signal that something greater than protocol was at stake. I accept it, and I thank you for it." That quote made history. For the first time in a federal ethics case, a judge acknowledged the emotional intelligence of a non-human witness. Legal textbooks hadn't accounted for dogs that understood courtroom energy, let alone participated in it. Law schools across the country began holding forums on the Patriot effect, exploring whether service animals could influence perception and what it meant for the future of trials involving vulnerable witnesses. Meanwhile, Karoline kept a low profile. She gave no interviews, declined all Sunday show invites, and canceled an upcoming political event in New Hampshire. But the silence only made the public more curious. When she finally re-emerged, it wasn't in Washington. It was in Atlanta, speaking at a youth leadership summit. No podium, no teleprompter. Just her, a folding chair, and Patriot. She spoke for 12 minutes. She didn't mention the trial. She didn't mention the signal. She simply said, "People spend so much time trying to win the room. I'm done with that. I'd rather read the room, and if I can't do that, I'll let someone beside me who can." That line earned a standing ovation, not because it was political, but because it was human. What followed was the beginning of something new. Karoline launched a nonprofit, Signal and Silence, dedicated to pairing trauma survivors with specially trained service dogs, not just for PTSD, but for emotional calibration, for reading signs, for protecting dignity in high-pressure settings. She also began advocating for new federal policy that would allow emotional response dogs to be present in all federal courtrooms, not just for minors, but for any individual under mental duress. Opposition came quickly, concerns over bias, manipulation, and theatrics. But Karoline didn't fight it on cable news. She simply kept showing up, quietly, respectfully, always with Patriot beside her. The debate has only begun, but one thing is clear. A moment that could have been spun as courtroom disruption became something else entirely. A movement, a reckoning, a reminder that sometimes what shifts a nation isn't a speech. It's a look, a gesture, a growl that says, "Enough." And maybe, if we're lucky, someone in the room is paying close enough attention to give the signal.